up is I had another question about balancing multiple sports
with travel
with
hockey, right?
travel hockey. Um,
Yeah, what does that mean?
well, I think there's two ways. There's kind of two ways to look at that. One is the question of should kids play multiple sports, which we've talked about that before, but maybe worth touching on again. And then the other is if my kid wants to be a very competitive athlete or a very competitive hockey player specifically, then where do other sports play into that? And this might
Okay.
be where I can touch on the book thing I was talking
This
about
is where
before.
I wanted you to. So can I go
So-
first before you go?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Okay. I'm going to state the obvious. It's good to play other sports. That's just good. It's good for a lot of different reasons. The other thing is, depending on your age, I don't understand why you wouldn't, because if you're I think that decision to only play hockey would come from a parent. Like that would be encouraged by a parent, in my opinion, because kids just want to play anyways. So if you're so focused at 9 years old of being an NHL hockey player and you're actually not playing hockey, you're training for hockey. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Training hockey, then what are you training for? Because no one knows how good you're going to be.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not, to me, it's irrelevant if you're good at 7 or 8. That you should be dreaming of NHL stuff, parents. So this is where parents have to come in, because you just don't know. And it's the hardest thing you're ever going to do, most likely. So training for hockey is not a good idea. Playing sports and in general is good. If your son or your daughter or whatever, they will dictate how much they want to play. So by playing other sports, good for all, crossover, thinking of other games. It's good for agility, good for I got some deep stuff thereafter.
Yep.
So that's the simple stuff. But if your kid wants to leans towards being, I want to train for hockey, you don't have to do one thing, because the kid will take his pucks and he'll shoot pucks at his fence or in the basement or do whatever. He's going to do things on his own that are going to indicate that I really like to do this, and this is where my first importance is hockey. But I love to play other sports. Other sports are good. All right. So examples of other sports that are good. It doesn't matter actually. But like, just to show a different perspective, let's say you wanted to be a hockey player, but I like jujitsu. Well, jujitsu has nothing to do with hockey. Okay, great, but I like it. So what would be good about jujitsu? Well, jujitsu would show you everything about leverage, everything about balance. It'll show you everything about
Body
battle,
awareness.
body awareness,
Yeah.
joints, and does that battle, humility, all these things. So yeah, but what does that have to do with hockey? Everything. It's the same, right? Toughness. So like you get into a jiu-jitsu hold, right? Leverage. Well, I'm going to say when you're old, if you get into a hockey fight, that's what that is. You leverage balance. If you're in the corners with guys, you learn how your center line works and how your balance and your hips and all that stuff. Or if someone's on you in a corner, you learn how to roll off guys. Like, and you'll get that through jiu-jitsu. I'm not saying go do jiu-jitsu. I'm saying if that was a sport your kid decided to pick, or you're a hockey player, but your dad is a black belt in jiu-jitsu, it's a really good thing to play. If you decided it was lacrosse, well, that's really good. So a lot of people say it's a crossover sport. Yeah, sure, whatever. It's a sport. That's all it is. But is it good for hockey? 100%. It'll teach you toughness, agility. It'll teach you the D zone more like incredibly well to make you a better hockey player, if that's your purpose of playing another sport. If you play baseball, catch, bending, whatever. But I think the most important thing outside of making friends, I don't want to talk about that stuff. Like, obviously I'm not, you make other friends. That's the simple stuff. But these are the things that this is something that I don't think people really think about, is injuries. If you only play hockey and you're training hockey all the time, nice hips, dude.
Yeah.
Nice hips and shoulders and lower back by the time, feet and ankles by the time, knees by the time you're 18, 20 years old. So like, one of the things is it's called overtraining. And anything that you do, if you do it,
repetitive movement injuries, man. Yeah.
Right. And like, look, I spend time getting the kinks out now, but that's that fishing pole thing, right?
Yeah.
Like when we had Chad from Edmonton Oilers, he was talking about the importance of recovery. And he goes, like, in a hockey season, you're like a fishing pole that's, been fishing, and you're bent. Like, this is how you are. Your hips, your lower back, and you're hunched over, because that's what you do. So if you never get out of that position, you're going to be like this for life, and you're going to have overuse injuries. So it's actually really important to straighten out that spine, get the hips aligned and all that kind of stuff so you can actually walk normal and have some recovery, because it's not going to show when you're 12 or 13 or 19, but when you're 30 and you're walking like that,
You have a lot of imbalances.
right?
Yeah.
So it's important to take that and do have the fishing pole effect, and then the other thing is to use your other muscles, strengthen the muscles around the muscles that you haven't used. And so doing something completely opposite of hockey is actually beneficial to you, for injuries.
Yeah.
Yeah, just overuse injuries from competitive movements. You're just gonna have better overall skill if you play other sports. I know that some people just can't understand that, but your skill will actually be better because you learn how to catch. And there's like, if it's a baseball, you learn how to catch. Lacrosse, you learn how to catch. Football, whatever it is, a sport, you're going to have crossover skills that are going to just make you a better overall athlete. And the better overall athlete you are, will help you in your game.
Yeah.
Period. Right. And then let's see. I guess the last thing would be emotional burnout. And I've said this before, is you can only get so excited so often about one thing. And is it, that's why we talk about where I'm not a big fan of having a hockey season and then spring hockey. It's just way too much hockey games. Your competitive spirit cannot be the same in September, December, March, and then June. Something's got to give. So that would be a huge one. And I want if I'm playing, I want to be dialed in and ready to go every day when it comes to game time or practice time. And then you take that, right? You take that season, you park it, and then you get better. So having said that, you were talking this morning about the book that you're reading, and I think it really goes well with the
yeah. So I think, well, just to kind of cap off everything that you were talking about, the reason that it's beneficial to do those things is, yeah, you learn all that other stuff, but then when you're in your sport environment that you care about most, those other things will come automatic. That's what's great about learning like that body awareness type stuff. If you're using the jiu-jitsu example, if you're used to grappling and having guys pinned up against you, and you know how to leverage that and get yourself out of positions, if you're in a board battle with somebody, you will just do it. You don't have to think about how do I get out of the situation. It's just automatic for you now because you have that skill set built in. You've been here before, right? So that's what the benefit is of playing other sports and doing other things, is that your problem solving capabilities become a lot better because there's a lot of crossover scenarios where you can apply something from another situation to the one you're in that you haven't seen before, right? So there's certain situations in hockey that happen more frequently in another sport, right? So whether if we stick on that example where you're grappling with somebody and you're pinned up against the mat, right? That happens a lot more in jiu-jitsu than it happens in hockey, but it happens a lot in hockey. So if you're used to being in that situation and you understand the body awareness of getting yourself out of that situation, obviously it's not in the same way because someone's not trying to choke you, but it's the same kind of movement patterns or body awareness that you need to have to get yourself through that situation, using leverage, pushing off the ground, pushing off the boards, whatever it is. So that's what's the benefit is it comes automatic.